This is for you, my number one. This is for you, my number one.
Welcome, and welcome you to yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. It's your boy Jalen, and I want to thank everyone that's watching, thank everyone that's listening. For people that don't know or that haven't caught on yet, I dropped the audio on all DSPs on Monday at 9 o'clock, so you get that first. And the visuals on YouTube, it drops every Tuesday morning. I don't really have a set time. I just know Tuesday morning whenever it's up. And again, I want to thank everybody that's listening and watching. So this week was last week was a crazy week for sports, man. We got people wilding. We got crazy lists to come out, and we're not talking about the rappers list this time, but we got crazy lists to come out. We have the new NCAA rule that we're going to talk about. Unfortunately, we're going to have to sneak a little bit of Trump in there. KD starts talking for the first time. You know, let's start with the NCAA rule. So for people that don't know, the NCAA rule, or what LeBron coined it, the Rich Paul rule, was it pretty much gears players not to sign with agents with a bachelor's, or they're pretty much saying if you're an agent, you have to have a bachelor's degree. And this is a direct correlation to the impact that people like Rich Paul have on the sport of basketball. Rich Paul doesn't have a college degree, or at least, he doesn't have a college degree. However, he is one of the most prominent agents in basketball. Not only does he have, NBA players, but he has, I think, R.J. Hampton. He has a lot of players coming in, and Rich Paul, I think one of the biggest reasons why the NCAA implemented this rule is because Rich Paul has done this about twice now. His clients have declined going to the NCAA and go overseas for at least a year to get ready or to play, to be ready for the draft. So what Rich Paul is pretty much doing is hurting in a certain way, hurting the NCAA bottom line when it comes to elite players and stuff like that. The problem with this rule, though, not only is it, I'm gonna just keep it real with you. It riddles something that African Americans have been struggling with for a minute, and that is understanding the times and understanding the climate and understanding that we as African Americans, especially in sports, is as strong as we've ever been. They need African Americans in sports, and I think that Rich Paul understands that. See, what I don't understand, I do understand. What doesn't make what the NCAA should be worried about right now is the fact that coaches, programs, schools, boosters, the town around the school makes so much money off of the academics and off of the sports, off of the sports teams, whether that's basketball, whether that's football, whether that's baseball. They make so much money off the sports side of the school, yet the players get absolutely no money. I've championed this for a while, man. This is something that I talked about before earlier in the podcast, but you can't tell me that a player like Zion Williamson, or a player like R.J. Barrett, or who's another big college, a player like Anthony Davis, a player like Kevin Durant when he was in college, Blake Griffin, these players were some of the most coveted college players in the game at that time. You can't tell me that the school made so much money off of a Derrick Rose at Memphis that Derrick Rose can't see any of that, and what they want to do is they want to they want to blanket it by saying, oh, well, they get free tuition, they get free scholarships, they get per diem when they go. They don't even have to go to class like that sometimes because they're on road trips. If you can, look, I get that. I get that, most student athletes, especially the ones that are primed to go further in their craft, might get allotted or afforded some different things than regular students. But the fact that a regular student can continue to make money, a regular student can get a job. A regular student can get a job while in school. Yet a basketball player can't get a job while playing for a team. Yet a basketball player can't make money off his own name just because he's on the basketball team, or just because an athlete can't make money outside, can't make money. Yet you're worried about an agent saying that you're pretty much dissuading players from dealing with agents that don't have a degree, or a bachelor's degree at least. Yet the only agent that you would be talking about is Rich Paul, and Rich Paul has made it almost every move he's made since working in the sports industry, sports world, is for the advancement or for the betterment of the player. So the fact that you have somebody that's trying to do right for the player, which pretty much in the bottom line hurts what you, NCAA, are trying to do, because a player profiting off themselves hurts you, apparently, or that's the picture that you paint. A player that benefits off his likeness hurts you. Yet, when you have a player like R.J. Hampton, or when you have an agent like Rich Paul, that's like, hey, you deserve to make as much money as possible, and you're good enough to make money. You just can't do it in the NCAA, so I would advise you to go overseas. Because of this, you now implement a rule that's saying, they pretty much have to have their bachelor's degree. And to be quite honest with you, it's not just Rich Paul. Most of the African American, I looked it up too, most of the African American agents do not have a bachelor's degree. Some of the biggest agents outside of Rich Paul do not have a bachelor's degree. So at the end of the day, you're hurting the bottom line, not only for them, but for the player to maximize their name, maximize their talent, just so you can have them come to a school for 8 months. Like, come on, you think Rich Paul or an agent has something to do with Zion Williamson staying for 1 year? You think that an agent or an outside source was the reason that R.J. Barrett stayed for a year? No, they knew before they hit Duke that they were going for or staying for 1 year. You think Marvin Bagley knew he was? You think, I'm going to the NCAA for 4 years. No, these players know before they hit the school that they're either staying for 1 year or 2 years, or that their goal is to leave for 1 year. So there's nothing that an agent can tell them that can change their mind, whether they have a bachelor's degree or not. I think I'm so adamant about this is because I played for the NAIA. I didn't play for NCAA, but I understand that as a player, the NCAA does not look out for you. The organization does not look out for you. You can be broke. Your family can be broke as hell, and you can't get any assistance. Your family can't get any assistance while you're playing. You can be Zion Williamson, one of the most famous basketball players walking the face of the earth, and he hasn't even played in the NBA for a second. Yet he can't profit off his name, and he can't get as much money as possible to help his family. Yet you're implementing a rule furthering your grip on these players. NCAA. People like Rich Paul, agents want some agents want the best for them, as in want the best for themselves. But most agents, especially African American agents, want the best for the player. Because they know that the organization, which is the NCAA, does not. Do I think this rule is racist? I don't know someone's intent. I don't know someone's heart. I don't know someone's motive. I know what it looks like on the surface. And it doesn't look too clean to me. Hell, Chris Broussard pretty much was saying, this is racist. All my African American athletes go to HBCUs. And I agree with him. I agree. Why would you help a Kentucky? I'm a North Carolina fan. Why would you help a Duke, a North Carolina, a UCLA thrive? When at the end of the day, their loyalty is to the NCAA. Their loyalty is to the school. Their loyalty is not for you. You will be the biggest thing. Zion, and I talked about this in a previous episode, Zion will be the biggest thing walking at Howard University. Zion will be the biggest thing that ever came to FAMU. And don't say that no HBCU player would make it to the league. I know it ain't basketball, but what's his name? Shannon Sharp did, and he's in the Hall of Fame. You telling me that Zion Williamson, as good as he is, just because he plays for Howard or just because he plays for FAMU or Morehouse, you think he wouldn't make it to the league? You think he wouldn't be first overall? We see the talent that Zion Williamson is. That doesn't take away just because he plays for Howard. This rule, to me, and I'm gonna just call it spade a spade. This rule is prejudice. This rule got issues. This rule has so many holes in it, and it's not even addressing the biggest problem that the NCAA really has when it comes to athletes. This rule, I think the worst part about this rule is that I think a lot of players are helpless in this situation. A lot of players feel, and for some it's very true, but a lot of players that feel that they need to go to a big school or they need to be under the umbrella of the NCAA. Some players believe that if they don't make it to the NCAA or if they don't shine in the NCAA, they're not going to make it, which is completely not true. The NCAA needs to change it or be gone with this rule. I don't know if they will. Some people are saying this rule is probably not even going to last a year, but NBA agents like Rich Paul shouldn't be held back from doing what's best for the kid, for an athlete, whether they're in college or whether they're in the NBA. And the NCAA now has made it, unless he goes to school and gets his bachelor's, made it pretty much virtually impossible, at least right now, for him to help or him legally to help. And that's not right. That's not right at all. So that's not right at all. And another thing, man. This shows just how tone deaf the NCAA is. No, this doesn't. This shows just how awake the NCAA is. The NCAA knows that it's holding these kids back. They know that their biggest problem isn't Rich Paul. The biggest problem is Jalen Hunter can be the biggest name in college basketball, and I can't make a dime, yet you can make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars off my name. They know this, which is exactly why they have this rule, which pretty much kind of forces players to go the NCAA route. And a lot of players that can't afford some of the top well, Rich Paul is a top name agent, but can't afford some of the top name agents are going to be forced to go back for 2 years, which means you're collecting more money off my name. So this doesn't show that the NCAA is tone deaf. This shows that the NCAA knows exactly what it's doing. Exactly what it's doing. And I think that's the sickest part about it, man. They know. They know what they're doing. Yet they can't, or they're not stopping it. So, I think this rule needs to be thrown away, man. I hope it gets thrown away because this riddles racism. This riddles prejudice, and this riddles prejudiceness, and it riddles the fact that the NCAA understands the vice grip they have on players, which sucks. So, damn, I didn't expect to start I didn't expect to start my episode like this, man. But it just had to be said, man. I was gonna talk about it regardless, but to me that's wild. That's wild. Speaking of wild, let's jump gears. Let's talk about your boy Antonio Brown. So Antonio Brown came out this week, or reports came out of camp, Raiders camp, saying that Antonio Brown threatens to retire due to he's unable to wear his old helmet. For people that don't know, the NFL pretty much changed the helmets, especially for wide receivers, to limit concussions. Antonio Brown and his people were mad because they don't feel like the new helmets are comfortable enough for him. So the man threatens to retire. And on top of that, more reports came out saying that the team is upset with AB due to the fact that he misses team meetings, or if he does go, he's been late to several of them, and he's just giving off a bad vibe in the locker room. And all I'm saying, first of all, this is the first time I've ever heard of somebody threatening to retire due to a helmet. This is the very first time I've ever heard of that. You know, AB did an interview with ESPN before he got traded from the Steelers. And he pretty much said he doesn't need the NFL. That, you know, he wants to be in the NFL, but he doesn't need it. And I was with him when he said that, because I mean, you take ownership in your name, you take control of, you know, your future, your destiny. You don't want to be barren to anything. I get it. But AB, at least right now, is a bigger problem than he is a solution. You see, in some of the reasons why I mean, my opinion isn't the end all be on anything, but some of the reasons why I thought I didn't really care about some of the antics and some of the stuff that he did for Pittsburgh is how important he was to Pittsburgh. When at the top of his game, AB to me is a top 3 wide receiver in the league. Especially alongside Big Ben and Le'Veon Bell. We remember the incident that AB had with the Facebook Live. We remember some of the reports off the field. We remember some of the spats that he had. Of course, we remember why he's not even with Pittsburgh, because of his frustration towards Big Ben. And I was very vocal saying that Big Ben definitely played a part in that as well. But AB played a part in that too. And now he hasn't even played a game with his new squad, and he's already starting trouble. or he's already threatened to retire due to a helmet. You start to get to a point where you say, is the player worth the baggage? We see that with Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys. Is the player worth the baggage? Do you think if Antonio Brown was a scrub, half this stuff would fly? Half this coming out to the media, threatening to retire due to a helmet. You think if he wasn't a top 3 wide receiver that this would be okay? Case in point, you know who's somebody that was a headache to deal with, but was a great player? T.O. Another one, Randy Moss. You see what happened once their production started going down, teams stop letting some of them antics slide. They start getting cut. They start, we're not even bringing you on because their production didn't match the baggage. Right now, Ezekiel Elliott's production matches the baggage. So while the Cowboys are at a standstill with the contract negotiation, I believe they're going to get a contract done. Right now, Antonio Brown's production matches, or I guess is bigger than the baggage. But right now, it's kind of hard to say that, especially for his new team, because he hasn't played for his new team. Right now, they're just going off name and off the future or the past. Yes, it was a season ago, but a lot can happen this summer. Antonio Brown is making a fool of himself. And the fact that he's doing this on a new team after he forced his way out of Pittsburgh. To me, if you force your way out of a situation and go to another situation that you wanted to be in, it would behoove me for you not to be on your best behavior, especially before the first game. Especially how ugly it ended at your last job, at your last gig. Do I think Antonio Brown's going to retire? No. Do I think that this is going to affect the team, however? Not the helmet part, but the part with the missing team meetings and showing up late to meetings, showing up late to practices. You want to be on your best behavior when you're on a new squad, man. And AB is really, to me, he's really showing that he doesn't care what happens. He's going to do his own thing, and that doesn't always work, especially if his production starts to go down, because then he's going to be too loud for his game, and then you're going to turn out like T.O. did towards the end of his career. You're going to turn out like Randy Moss did at the end of his career. You're going to turn out like, who's another person? To a certain extent, Melo towards the end of his career. Like, you don't want to be a person where you have to second guess bringing them on. No matter how great you are, AB, this is a bad look. Bad look. Now, you're not listening. I know you're not listening. It is what it is. But, yeah, you might not need the NFL. But for image-wise, you need to have a good season this year. Especially after what happened last year. And especially the comments that you know about Derek Carr and about the Oakland organization. You need to have a good season, and this is not a way to start that whatsoever. Again, and then John Gruden came out and said, AB is really particular. He's really particular about his stuff, so I understand he's still going to be a great asset. And I know he's going to be a great asset. He's Antonio Brown. But this is a bad look, especially coming off the season that you had last year. Production-wise on the field, you still had a great season last year. But off the field, and especially, with the trade and everything, you want to be on your best behavior, especially out the gate, man. Especially out the gate. So, that's my little tidbit for Antonio Brown, man. You probably not listening. Hey, it is what it is. But again, come on, bro. You got to be better than that, man. You got to be better. So, moving on to the NBA, because to be honest with you, they're actually, you know what? Let's stay with NFL real quick, because we'll move to the NBA. I'm gonna just talk about this quickly, and I'll move on. So Donald Trump, the president of the United States, came out and pretty much said, Colin Kaepernick, he would love to see him in the league if he's good enough. He would love to see him on a team if he's good enough. If he's good enough, he'll pretty much pull some strings to get him on the team. The president is a walking contradiction, because if you remember, Colin Kaepernick is one of those SOBs that disrespected the flag, even though his protests had nothing to do with the flag. It was about police brutality and how African Americans were treated, and it was about how veterans were treated that came back from war. Colin Kaepernick didn't deserve to be on the team back in the day because he didn't respect America. This is not me. This is all the president, Donald Trump, what he said. Colin Kaepernick deserves whatever's coming to him, because again, he disrespects nobody that disrespects the flag, nobody that disrespects the United States should ever be on the field. Yet now, he would love to see Colin Kaepernick in the league. Donald Trump has shown a propensity to lie and a propensity to backtrack on his words to a point where you can't believe anything he says. And honestly, I think he's doing this because the re-election is coming soon. And I don't know if he knows this, but he's not too popular with the African American vote. This is not a political podcast. And the only reason why I'm talking this is because of Colin Kaepernick. But why wasn't Colin Kaepernick good, 2-3 years ago when this all started? Why wasn't Colin Kaepernick good enough when he was doing the demonstration? Why is it now that he's 3 or 4 years out the league now if he's good enough? If that isn't the most blasphemous, pompous statement the president can say about somebody, especially somebody that he's one of the main reasons, if not the reason, he's not even in the NFL. Or he was blackballed out the NFL. So now you're going to say that? Okay. That's the president of the United States, people. So, let me get off of that because I don't even want to talk about Donald Trump no more. So week 1.5 of the preseason ended last week, and we got a couple takeaways. We saw some rookie quarterbacks. Dwayne Haskins had some beautiful throws, but he didn't really look too much ready. He had two horrible interceptions, but again, he's a rookie. But he did make some really good plays. He made some mobile plays, which I was really surprised about, because especially coming into all last year at Ohio State and coming into the league, he wasn't really known as a mobile quarterback. He was more of a pocket passer, which he is. But he made a beautiful throw off the run. He scampered for a good solid gain, or a couple good solid gains. Dwayne Haskins looked good. I don't know if he looks ready to start. Right now, they're coming out and saying Colt McCoy is pretty much going to start. But I do know that he looks really good, especially in the moments that he played. Now, he looks young as well. He looks very young, and he looks like his decision making needs to be a little better. But it was only one game. It's his first NFL preseason game, so I'm not gonna completely take away from him. All I'm gonna take away from him is he didn't look completely ready, but he looked good. Another person that didn't look completely ready but looked really good was Drew Lock. Drew Lock looked really well, but again, he looked like a rookie, just like Dwayne Haskins. He looked a little better than Dwayne Haskins, but he still looked like a rookie. A player that was really surprising was Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones looked. Now again, this is the preseason, so I'm not really holding onus to any of this, but Daniel Jones looked like he was ready. He's ready to get day one. Now, yeah, he's not playing with set defenses and he's not playing with, starters like that. But Daniel Jones looked really good. He had some beautiful throws, and I'll give it to him. I killed the Giants for drafting Daniel Jones when they did. I killed the Giants organization for trading Odell Beckham and pretty much getting in return Golden Tate, pretty much. I've killed New York for continuously siding with Eli, even though everyone in their mama knows he is over that hill. But all I'm gonna say is Daniel Jones looked really well. Looked really, really well. And again, I don't really put much stock into the preseason. But one thing I will say is that I think, especially seeing one preseason game, I'm gonna talk about this, or I'm gonna do a season preview before the season actually starts. But it's going to be really hard for me. And I'm going to just tell y'all now, it's going to be very hard for me picking against the Chiefs this year. Their defense got a little better. Patrick Mahomes looked great. Patrick Mahomes looked like a Hall of Fame quarterback in the first preseason game. Patrick Mahomes was making throws like he made last year. Patrick Mahomes looked incredible. The offense looked explosive even without Tyreek Hill. They looked explosive, more explosive than last year. And to be honest with you, the only reason why they lost last year was because D Ford wanted to be offsides, and their defense was historically bad. But their defense got better. I don't know if they're gonna win or not, but it's going to be hard for me to pick pick somebody else outside of the Chiefs winning it all next year. And the first preseason game really showed me just how good they can be. Or they are. They reminded me how good they are. So, I know, again, I don't take much onus in the preseason because it's just preseason. A lot of those players aren't even going to make the final cut. But Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs look good, and some of the players that I just talked about need some improvement, but looked good. So, without further ado, one thing that I really was excited to talk about was this all NBA decade teams. So, I don't know who, I guess NBA, I don't know who made this list, but they made an all-decade team. This is from years 2009 to 2010 to 2020, pretty much. And they made 3 all-decade teams. The first team is Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard. The second team, Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Blake Griffin. And the third team, LaMarcus Aldridge, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Paul George. Off the brick, I have no problems with the first team. The impact that Steph Curry has on the game, or that and he continues to have on the game, is unprecedented. KD to me is right now, when healthy, the best player in the league. But KD, and we can have this argument a little later, but to me he's one of, if not the most unstoppable scorers of all time. And he's one of the most unique players of all time. We can talk about that on another episode, but Kevin Durant is to me one of, if not the most lethal scorer in NBA history. You got LeBron James, arguably the best player ever. And he still was going to his 17th year, and he's still top 2 or 3 maybe. Yeah, James Harden, one of the most offensively gifted shooting guards of all time, in the conversation for greatest offensive guard of all time. No problems there. Kawhi Leonard, to me, I said this before on the podcast and I'll say it again. To me, he's a better player than he's a better version of Scottie Pippen. 2-time champion on two NBA finals on 2 different teams and 2 different conferences. Yeah, I have no problem with the first team. Our problems start to come with the second and third. First, I have no problem with Chris Paul on the second team. I have no problem with Anthony Davis on the second team. I have no problem with Russell Westbrook on the second team. And I hate to do this because it sounds like I'm bashing him, but I'm really not. I love Carmelo Anthony. I'm a big Carmelo Anthony fan, but I have to be honest with it. What has Carmelo Anthony, and I talked about this last episode. What has Carmelo Anthony done to make the second team? What has he done to make the All-NBA second team? All-NBA decade or all-decade second team. What has he done? If we're talking about FIBA, then yeah, he deserves. But this is the NBA. This isn't international. He hasn't done anything to me to be in the All-NBA all-decade second team but score a lot of points. There's a lot of, and we'll talk about this a little bit. We'll talk about this a little bit, but I'm gonna name some players that I think should have been on this list. Melo to me shouldn't, if not the all-decade third team, he shouldn't have been on this list. And there's another great player that we'll talk about that I don't think should be on this list either. Blake Griffin, that's questionable for me too. Yeah, he scored a lot of points, he caught a lot of lobs, but I think there's players that's better than him, at least in the decade. That should be on this list. And then we get to the third team. For one, I have no problem with LaMarcus. I didn't realize LaMarcus Aldridge did so much within the decade. I was like, damn, LaMarcus Aldridge? I looked it up. LaMarcus Aldridge did a whole hell of a lot in the decade. So, shouts out to LaMarcus. I have nothing against LaMarcus Aldridge. D Wade, we know, Miami Heat. He definitely deserves to be on that list. If we're talking about forwards, I have no problem with Paul George on this list, especially being on all-decade third team. Because if you look at the forwards, okay, all right. I'm sorry, guys. That's a lot. There's 4 players on this list that I have a problem with. 5, sort of. I have a problem with Blake Griffin. I have a problem with Carmelo Anthony. I have a problem with Paul George. And I have a problem with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I'm going to tell you why. Giannis has been in the league for a minute now. I think he's been in the league for about 5, 6, or 7 years. No, I think 5 or 6 years. I think 5. but he really just started getting good the last 3. Now, yes, he's an MVP. Yes, he's a freak of nature. Yes, he could go down as one of the greatest, especially if he develops his jump shot. But Giannis hasn't done a lot. He's done stuff in 3 years. And if we're talking about the all-decade team, that's 10 years. That's 7 years unaccounted for. Same as Paul George. Paul George did a lot for Indiana. Paul George did a lot for OKC. And now I expect him to do a lot for Clippers. But what has Paul George done to make the all-decade third team? First, I would move Kobe Bryant. It's a little disrespectful that Carmelo Anthony's on the second team. And in this decade, Kobe Bryant has won a championship, yet he's on the third. I'm just pointing that out there. But I'm going to give you a list of 5 names that I think should be on the list over Melo, over Blake Griffin, over Giannis Antetokounmpo, over Paul George. Name number 1, and this isn't no order, but these are people that I think deserve to be on this list that are not on this list. Number 1 is Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki brought a championship to Dallas. He's one of the greatest European scorers ever, or European players ever. He's one of the greatest scorers the NBA has ever seen, especially being at 7 foot and slow as hell. He created a jump shot, the Dirk fade. I think he deserves to be on this list. Yes, he doesn't have the most glorious game ever, but number 2, I think Tim Duncan deserves to be on this list and everything that he did for the Spurs, especially winning a championship for them in the decade. If we're talking about Mr. Fundamental, we're talking about LaMarcus Aldridge is a hybrid of Tim Duncan. He shoots better than Tim Duncan, but he's pretty much Tim Duncan 2.0. And LaMarcus Aldridge made the all-decade third team, and Tim Duncan has done more than LaMarcus Aldridge in the decade. Number 3, how about Dwight Howard? For about a solid 6 to 7 years, Dwight Howard was the best center in the league by a country mile. There was no debate. And honestly, even his bad years were good. The year he was with LA, the shoulder problems, the back problems, he still helped them make it to the playoffs. The years with Houston, they still made it to the playoffs. The years with Atlanta, it didn't go well as a team, but he still put up solid numbers. Same as the years with Charlotte. We don't want to talk about having in Washington, but in Charlotte, he was still productive. So how is he not on this list? So that's Dirk Nowitzki. That's Tim Duncan. That's Dwight Howard. What about, what about Kevin Love? That might not be a glorious name to say, but Kevin Love has done more than Melo in this decade. He did more than Blake Griffin. He's won a championship in this decade. He's done more than Paul George. I think he's the second all-time leading scorer or third all-time leading scorer for the Timberwolves. And he hasn't played for them in a minute. What about Damian Lillard? How is Paul George on the team and Damian Lillard's not? Damian Lillard has done more than Paul George. What I'm saying is, if we're going to do this, if they're going to do this list, and they did this list, I have no problem with a lot of names. But you're rewarding a lot of players on a couple seasons when this is the decade. And then you're also rewarding players, which I don't understand how or why. I would have no problem if Blake Griffin was on the third team because Griffin has done a lot, and Blake Griffin is a great player. And don't hear me say that all these players aren't great because they are. But you're really telling me that Blake Griffin is that much better? Is better than Dwight Howard? Is better than Dirk Nowitzki? Is better than who else? Is better than Tim Duncan? Is better than Damian Lillard? Is better than hell, you can even put KG in there at the end of his run. Oh, and one of the biggest omissions. And y'all can hate me for it, but one of the biggest omissions to this list is how is Klay Thompson not in the all-decade team? Klay Thompson in this decade, is a 3-time champion. One of the greatest scorers or shooters to ever play. When we're talking about consistency, he is as consistent as it gets. He's done more. And I hate to say it, but he's done more than LaMarcus Aldridge. He's done more than Giannis. He's done more than Paul George. He's definitely done more than Melo. He's done more than Blake Griffin. He's done more than Chris Paul. He's done more than Russell Westbrook. All these players made the all-decade team. How did Klay Thompson not make it? Look, this ain't my list. If it was my list, you know what? I'm going to do this now. If it was my list, again, I would have absolutely no problems. Absolutely no problems with the first team. That's, again, Steph, KD, Bron, James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard. Second team, no problem with Chris Paul. No problem with Anthony Davis. No problem with Russell Westbrook. I would put Klay Thompson in the second team, and I'd put Kobe in the second. No, I'd put Dirk Nowitzki in the second team. This is the decade. I'm not talking about entire career. This is the decade. So my second team would be Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Klay Thompson, and Dirk Nowitzki. My third team would be LaMarcus Aldridge, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, and Tim Duncan. That would be my 3 all-decade teams. If you have a problem with it, you can leave it in the comments below. We'll talk about it. But those are my and if I left somebody out, who did I leave out? You tell me. Because to me, that's crazy. How you're not gonna have Dirk? He just finished. So, before we go, I don't even know if this has been an hour or not. It might have. But before we go, Kevin Durant came out and did an interview with Chris Haynes. You know, he's really good friends with Chris Haynes or really good with Chris Haynes. And Chris Haynes spent a day with KD, and they did an interview. And KD pretty much came out and said he doesn't blame Golden State for his injury. He said it was just basketball. He has no hard feelings with the team. He's also saying he doesn't. He when he asked about the crowd booing him, he was like, "Yeah, he heard it. That's probably the last time Toronto's ever going to be in the finals," which I agree with. And it's just open. You know, he was talking about rehab and getting back better than ever. You know, the usual sound bites. But one thing I kind of paused with was when he said he doesn't blame Golden State. I don't blame Golden State for what happened with KD. I agree when he says that it's just basketball. I mean, it could happen to anybody. I agree with what he said, but I don't agree that he believes that. And I say that because if you remember when it happened, all the reports that came out from KD's camp saying they were upset with Golden State. They felt Golden State lied to him. They felt Golden State betrayed him and stuff like that. Not to mention, reports have also come out pretty much saying that Kevin Durant stopped talking to teammates towards the end of the season. So what I think is Kevin Durant knew that this was the end. I'm very vocal, and I was very on the record saying that why would you leave a dynasty, especially a dynasty that needs you? Yeah, I get that you're never going to be the most popular, but everyone on that team and everyone that watches the games know you are the best player on the court, hands down. But you leave to go to Brooklyn. That's okay. You do your thing. But Chris Haynes said that KD stopped talking to, like, really distanced himself from his teammates towards the end of the season, not after the injury, towards the end of the season. He knew he was leaving. KD is a wiry dude, man. KD is a dude that you never know what he's gonna do, kind of like Kyrie, and just so happens they're on the same team now. But I guess all I'm saying, it was a really, I mean, if you haven't read it, go read it. It was a really good interview. But it just really shows that, to me, KD, he doesn't know what makes him happy, man. He really doesn't. And I don't fault him for that. But you're on a dynasty. You can be one of the greatest teams ever. You were one of the greatest teams ever, and you can continue to run that back. Imagine if KD never got hurt. Imagine if him and Draymond never had that spat. Where would the league be? Imagine KD stayed. Again, the interview was really revealing, and it was a good interview. So I'd implore you guys to go check it out. So that's all I really have to say about that. It was just, I don't know if I believe him when he says he doesn't blame Golden State for his injuries, and he doesn't blame Golden State for how it ended, because at the end of the day, he felt like he wasn't getting the recognition that he deserves. But who needs to give you the recognition? You or the fans? At the end of the day, if you know you're the best player on the team, if the team knows you're the best player on the team, if the team telling everyone that you're the best player on the team, who are you trying to get accolades from? That's all I'm trying to say. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. But there you have it, man. That has been the Unpopular Podcast. I don't know if this has been an hour or not, but, you know, it is what it is. I want to thank everyone that's been listening, or thank everyone that did listen. Thank everyone that watched on Tuesday. Please subscribe wherever you, whether that's iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening, watching. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. It would mean so much to me if you subscribed. Again, I appreciate everyone that's listening. This is the Unpopular Podcast with your boy Jalen. And until next time, much love.
What is this?
Maybach music.
I like this Maybach music. Sweet.
If Michael Jackson came alive right now, he'd ask you to smoke one for him, so in his honor. You niggas spoiled web, coming up shout, think you D Brown, jump if you want. I put it on my mama and her very last nerve. Ricky made off everything I deserve. The square root of a kilo is me, nigga. Square root of a kilo is me, nigga. Do the math, I'm a motherfucking G, nigga.
Maybach music. Maybach music. Maybach music.
It's all on me now. As you can see now, I'm gon' get this money and I will not be denied. Been shitting on you fucks a long time to be now. When you finish first, they hate you worse. Starting to see now. I'm at the round table where your seat at. Where your plate, where your lobster, where your sea bass. We ain't never left, acting like we back. You should see us now taking pictures, acting thinking like we rap. This the circle that'll murk you. Blackout, short circuit. Somebody show them square ass niggas the first exit. This here reserved for soldiers, most definite. So watch what you're saying, where you step more carefully. If I fall in the field and ain't no more F for me, post them on the ground and put one in the F for me. Tell my enemies fuck them, they know already, but fuck them. Tell them again with a middle finger and a chuckle. You don't know that nigga, nope, This famous that'll still throw copper. Cross so heavy, crack the tabernacle. Fire the ganja back up. Throw some blow in my tobacco. They crank the lacquer. One match left. This the last turn. Santeria candles in my sanctuary burn. I'ma earn to the last quarter adjourn. To the last gavel drop. We gon' have it locked.
Maybach music.
We gon' have it locked.
I'm part of the small percentage of niggas who make it out the ghetto. But niggas tried to pull me back cause misery loves company. It's funny how they come for me when they see me living comfortably. But when I was broken sleeping on floors, they ain't want nothing from me. My future's so bright, but my past so ugly. And I just try to correct it all, but it all still haunts me. Tried to section off the past, but it still haunts me. So I accept what got me here, reflecting in this rocking chair. All this space created, all that hard work, it got me here. So what I look like, telling a nigga that I shouldn't be here. Power to the people, so the people shouldn't live in fear. And I'll be that raising voice and tell the people, treat us fair. Warn in the streets, tell them soldiers to meet us there. Out in the open, all alone, I felt the coldest air. Secluded in my thoughts affair. No one to talk to, no one there. Not even a voice, not even the air. No one to love, no one to care. Now I got a power circle, and now I'm on a power trip. And they calling me counterfeit, cause I ain't gave a coward shit. Stole me, throw me a pile of shit, but you won't pull me out of it. It's funny how it come full circle. Now they wanna be a part of the power circle.
Maybach music.
They wanna be a part of the power circle.
Maybach music.
May the wind be at your back, may the bad be in your past. May the kids take all your good, may your wife have class. May you realize your goals, and what's life without grind. Those niggas, your niggas, hope them niggas, real as mine. May the wind be at your back, may the bad be in your past. May the kids take all your good, may your wife have class. May you realize your goals, for what's life without grind. Those niggas, your niggas, hope them niggas, real as mine. There's a difference between underrated and hasn't made it. Once you're successful, they relentlessly giving you hatred. There's no applause for you. Success is hard for you. There's enemies, envy with green. My niggas lawnmower, and I'm on tour. Jordan 4s, Tom Ford, and I ain't thugging. They clapping at me, y'all encore. Got a dark heart, bright mind, make women crazy. I give a D, I throw up two. I call that shit a safety. Shit is crazy when entertainment ain't entertaining. And my inner sanctum need real estate. I'm out my phase. Jealousy's for the weak. You ain't happy I made it. I be feeling like brother Malcolm just out of the nation. Allah got us, cause if we holler, the law snub us. I seen hustlers turn clockers out, niggas grandmothers. So shut the fuck up and listen. Fuck all them stuck up musicians. My circle's small, but regardless, my circumference official. My clothes different like quarterbacks at a close scrimmage. They going blisters, but ain't no way that they gon' hit us. I'm so elusive, some of my niggas be going through it. Yes, it's a rap when your co-defendant makes soul music. Cash rule the world, at least to do with girls, at least to do with church. You seek the truth and true it hurts. If they real and they real, my niggas deserve it. And we don't deal with weak squares in this power circle. Ralph.
Maybach music.
We don't deal with weak squares in this power circle.
Yeah, Meek Millie, it's Maybach.
Maybach music.
I'm like, welcome to the power circle. I came a long way, I started with a pot of circle. Clique full of real niggas that'll probably murk you. Cause they about that murder game, you do a lot of verbal, lot of talking, lot of tweeting. Till you hear that chopper speaking, kill my dog, I kill your dog, we tired even, I believe it. If you see it, then you got it, nigga, never give up. Cause if you grindin', you gon' be rich before you can look up. My cousin Knock told me never teach niggas to cook up. Cause you can sell them hard for the low and give them the hook up. And still make a profit. The streets say I'm the hottest, and a nigga still modest. I'm just being honest. Back to the wall, never let them get behind us. Mac in my drawers, fitting right in my designers. Look at my persona, I dreamed it, woke up and conquered. There was commas at the commas, I eat them like Benny Hannes. Put the shrimp over the pasta over the lobster, and the lobster over the table, power circle of mafia. Just talking money, what you talking about? Probably talking about is we the only thing to talk about.
Maybach music.
Is we the only thing to talk about.
Maybach music.
Is we the only thing to talk about.
Look inside the eyes of the last Mohican. Survived, you won't last a weekend outside. Seen the pastor tweaking, the sunk his teeth in the rock, his demise. Later on that evening, you heard the grieving of angels that cried. See a demon, don't compromise. And so I walk alone with a cross and a diamond stone. I'm a diamond inside the rough that's too mighty for mighty goons. I might as well put all my killers in YSL. Put my voice on this microphone, put you pussy niggas through hell. Hell's fire, I live a liar and never grind. I know the priors, they running by us when we do crime. I know the Section 8 wanna discontinue my moms when they heard that Ohio State gave me 30 racks in July. Oh Lord, this can't be life, no it can't be life. When the day breaks and you heard them stripes and you learned that strike from upstate will adjourn that life and confirm that life is good bait for the warden that might get awarded and right. Down your fate, you reported denied. A reporter replied, the death rate will eventually climb. So eventually I'm on a track race for the dough before time. Get a clock that resign. So about face, if it ain't business side, get offended, I mind. No one fake, I'm a realist and strive of 1,000,000,005. 1,000,000,000 cause the limit is the sky. And I live on cloud 9, and I recognize my nemesis gon' try. Put a finish in my shine, but pussy will hurt you. Life in the power circle.
Regardless of how it goes down, life goes on, am I right? Tried to warn you niggas. I tried to warn you niggas. It's too late now.
Maybach
Double
music.
MG. Too much cake. Too much power. Too much respect. Bow down, nigga.
Maybach music.
Huh.